Hello and welcome to another Intro to Programming tutorial. In this tutorial we will going to be learning a little bit about how do you go about drawing a flowchart and writing the pseudocode for an if condition. And then in the oncoming tutorials we're going to be looking at a full-fledged example. So let's say if we have to draw a flowchart for a very simple business problem that check the temperature. If the temperature is below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, then display a message. Very simple flowchart. Very simple flowchart. So we will going to now look at the flowcharting symbols that are available for decision making. So you will going to still be going under Insert. You will be going under Shapes. And in the flowchart, you will going to notice that there is a diamond symbol. This is usually used for decision making. So if I grab this diamond symbol and draw it like this, okay? Now, the condition was check to see if the temperature is below 32 degrees. So if I have a variable called temperature, I'll say, okay, check to see if temperature is less than 32 because that's below 32 degrees. So now I have made a decision. Now, usually decisions have two components. Either the decision is true or the decision is false. There is no other way out. Now here in this particular case, we're only looking at what if the decision is true. So generally speaking, we will going to make a box. It will going to be pretty much like, if it's a display statement, a parallelogram. If it's not a display statement, if it's a process statement, then a square box. I want to display a message to the user that yes, it's little cold. So we will going to go back to the Insert, Shapes. We're going to grab a parallelogram. We're going to draw a parallelogram right over here. Let me increase the width of this one. And we're going to display a message to the user, display little cold. And now I need to tell in my flowchart that this statement will only going to execute when the statement gets to be true. So for that purpose, we can basically go back to Insert, and we can go back to Shapes, and we can pretty much draw a line. Now, when drawing lines in this particular environment, you have a couple of choices. Now here we have a line which is called the elbow arrow connector. So I click here, go back this way, stop. So this is basically creating a straight line. Then I can pretty much create an elbow out of here, something like that. Or what I can do is I can go and under Shapes, and I can basically draw a straight line like this here. And then I can go back and draw another arrow, but this time pointing it downwards. Okay, so that makes my arrow and that makes my line. And then I can go to the Insert and I can insert a text box right over here on which I can say true. That means if this statement is true, then display its little code. Okay, now let's see what kind of pseudocode we're going to be writing for this kind of statement. Now as far as the pseudocode is concerned, we're going to write if temperature is less than 32, then. Now notice the words that I'm using. If, then, just like in English. Pseudocode is very close to English. Enter. Display little cold. However, unlike the flowchart, we're not going to stop here. We will rather add one more statement, which is called end if. If you may remember from my last tutorial, I told you that when we work with an if condition, it's a block structure. And all block structures have a beginning and have an end. Now, some programming languages that do not use the word end if, they will use opening and closing curly braces. However, in VB, we use if and if. So I'm just making my flowchart and pseudocode combination closer to what VB represents. Now let's take the same idea and I'll copy paste this idea so that I have another slide which looks exactly like the first slide. I'll move my pseudocode right here. And now let's say if I have a plan A and plan B. My first problem that I've just presented to you in slide number 2, it only had one plan. If the temperature is less than 32, display its little code. However, if the temperature is not less than 32, that means if the temperature is equals to 32 or if the temperature is over 32, now that's where my plan B comes into place. So I will going to probably, I can just copy and paste this on the other side. And I can copy and paste this on this side here like that. And I can simply move a copy of that over here as well. So instead of displaying little code, I can say, well, it's a nice weather. Now for those of you guys who are watching this video and you live in warm places, you must be thinking, oh my god, what is so nice about 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is almost 0 degrees Celsius. So anyway, since I live in the much colder environment, that's probably one of the things I can say very easily. Anyway, so if temperature is less than 32, then display. Now, the false statement in programming is generally translated as else. In daily life, you're going to use it mostly otherwise. That means if the temperature is less than 32, a little cold, otherwise it's a nice weather. But over here, that isn't the case. Over here, we're going to say else. Else, display, nice weather. Now, since if and else are two different branches of the same decision, therefore, we will not going to use another and if. They're part of the same and if statement. So this pretty much is a very brief example of how do you go about coding flowchart for decision making, and how do you go about converting that flowchart into pseudocode. In all our incoming examples, our main emphasis will going to be on pseudocode and how you go about converting the pseudocode into its equivalent programming code in VB form-based environment or VB console-based environment. Hope you would have enjoyed this tutorial. Catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching.